Drop a like and do share. Leave your comments and do not forget to subscribe for more videos.
Hi, I'm Dr. Nidhi Khare. Students, in the previous lecture, I discussed about the challenges involved in designing office space, and we also saw a comparison of the major office styles. Now, the international design firm Gensler conducted a study in 2013 that found workers spent about one quarter of their workday collaborating and more than half in deep focus. That means employers need to provide office environments that facilitate interaction while allowing freedom from interruption. Now let's see what the survey says. 8% of companies surveyed have more than 40% of their employees working virtually. 44% of employees say that their top gripe about working from home is not having face-to-face interaction. 29% of employees are called anytime, anywhere. And 20% of employees have non-standard jobs. Non-standard jobs means work fewer than 35 hours a week, independent contractors, day laborers, etc. 12% of respondents to a global workforce survey said that telecommuting was extremely important to them. 81% of employers offer some form of flexible work arrangements. 37% of employees work from multiple locations. And 53% of employees use multiple devices for work. Now let's see how to keep employees connected. Many organizational design concepts were developed during the 20th century, when work tasks were fairly predictable and constant. Most jobs were full-time and continued indefinitely, and work was done at an employer's place of business under a manager's supervision. However, many organizations today are not like that, as you saw in our preceding discussion of virtual and network organizations. So a major structural design challenge for managers is finding a way to keep widely dispersed and mobile employees connected to the organization. So this is a major structural design challenge. Doing business in an intensely competitive global environment, managers at British retailer Tesco realize how important it is for stores to operate smoothly behind the scenes. At Tesco, they do so through the use of a proven tool, which is a set of software applications called Tesco in a Box, which promotes consistency in operations and acts as a way to share innovations. Tesco is an example of a learning organization, an organization that has developed the capacity to constantly learn, adapt, and change. In a learning organization, employees continually acquire and share new knowledge and apply that knowledge in making decisions or doing their work. Some organizational theorists even go so far as to say that an organization's ability to learn and to apply that learning may be the only sustainable source of competitive advantage. So, what structural characteristics does a learning organization need? First, members of a learning organization must be able to share information and collaborate on work activities throughout the entire organization across different functional specialities and even at different organizational levels. This sharing and collaboration requires that structural and physical barriers be minimal. In such a boundaryless environment, employees can work together and collaborate in doing the organization's work the best way they can and learn from each other. Second, because of the need to collaborate, teams tend to be an important feature of a learning organization's structural design. Employees work in teams empowered to make decisions about doing whatever work needs to be done and to resolve issues. With empowered employees and teams, the organization has little need for bosses to direct and control. Instead, managers serve as facilitators, supporters, and advocates. Are there global differences in organizational structures? Are Australian organizations structured like those in Canada? Are German organizations structured like those in France or Mexico? Given the global nature of today's business environment, managers need to be familiar with the issues surrounding structural differences. Researchers have concluded that the structures and strategies of organizations worldwide are similar, while the behavior within them is maintaining its cultural uniqueness. What does this mean for designing effective and efficient structures? So, when designing or changing structure, managers may need to think about the cultural implications of certain design elements. One study showed that formalization, that is, rules and bureaucratic mechanisms, may be more important in less economically developed countries and less important in more economically developed countries, where employees may have higher levels of professional education and skills. Other structural design elements may be affected by cultural differences as well, such as chain of command and span of control. So, no matter what structural design managers choose for their organization, the structure should help employees work in the most efficient and effective way possible to meet the organization's goals. After all, structure is simply a means to an end, right? Thank you.